This pro bike is a really exciting one. It's fresh off the course, still covered in dust, and it belongs to Annie last. This is her BH Lynx Carbon Race. At the heart of her bike is a carbon fibre full suspension frame running 100mm of travel. It's got the Suntour Unair shock on there with a lockout lever on the handlebars, and it's got something quite cool out back. It's got a split link. So this pivot you can see just down here by the rear axle, that basically enables it to be super active whether she's braking, pedalling or coasting. So it's a really good refined suspension platform, very active. Up front on Annie's bike, she's running a 680 carbon fibre, fairly straight handlebar on here, and a 70mm stem with a slight negative rise on there. All of the XC Pro riders we've seen to date have been running the Magura Raceline MT8 brakes. Annie is no exception to that rule. 160mm rotors front and rear, and the telltale sign of course is the neon yellow caliper there with the orange piston you can just see from the non-drive side. Wheels on Annie's bike are the Mavic Crossmax Pro Carbons. They've got bladed spoke design on there, they're straight pull, and of course they use Mavic's classic UST tubeless system. She's running these with Michelin Jet XCR Tyres. That is a super low profile design. There's barely any tread on the top of these tyres, but they've got a really good side shoulder here for cutting in on turns, and they're set up tubeless like most riders do these days. And up front is that Axon Werx fork by Suntour. It's a full carbon fork. It's got a carbon Holotech monocoque crown and steerer, all one piece there. Carbon legs on here with the carbon brace mated to alloy dropouts. And on Annie's particular bike, she's got the lockout adjust on the top of the fork there, just running to a remote on the bars that can do the rear shock as well. So she can really crank it hard for sprinting up those climbs and flick it loose so she can have it nice and supple to maintain traction. Although Annie's running the Rotor 2 in crank, she's actually running a round chainring at the moment. Once again, it's Sram Eagle doing the shifting duties out back with that monstrous 1050 cassette with that 500% gear range. Unusually on Annie's bike, she's not running a dropper post like her teammate Jordan does, and we do know that this frame is compatible because he also rides a size medium. So we're going to speak to her about that in a minute. Up top, she's got a prologo saddle with carbon fibre rails, and the weight on Annie's bike is 10.38 kilos, which is about 22.14 pounds. So a bit lighter than Jordan's bike, of course, which he's running the dropper post, which I'm guessing is one of those reasons because it's got very similar spec on here. And if you want to hear how cool her wheels sound, because those Mavics do sound good. Okay, so we're here with Annie last talking about her Lynx Carbon Pro race bike. So, well, first up, it's a brand new bike, brand new year season. So just give us a rundown on how the bike's feeling for you.
Okay, so yeah, it's a new bike and it's quite a different linkage and feel to my bike last year. So it took me a little bit to get used to it, but I like it now. It's running really well. Spent a bit of time with SR Suntour getting the suspension set up. Yeah. Unfortunately, it was in the south of France to, you know, because it's supposed to be warm weather and good, and it was snowing, so not too easy to get it set. But no, I'm really happy with it. I've got a setup now where I've got the ability to be using the suspension, but we're going fast through uphill technical sections, flat things, so not losing too much power through the suspension, but then also kind of really being able to use it on the descents and on those sections that you want it. So yeah, I'm happy. I guess
you use a lockout lever quite a lot then.
Yeah, quite a lot, although on a course like this, maybe not so much as like I thought. So when you're kind of just riding easy on the laps, you've got more chance to get it on and off. But when you're really attacking it, you've got kind of, it's constant. You've got corners into a section, into this, into that. So not too much on the lockout at the minute.
And tyre choice I want to speak to you about, because we also checked out Jordan's bike. I noticed he's running quite more aggressive tyres, and again he's running the dropper post. Yeah. I noticed he always posts videos on his Instagram of jumping and stuff. He seems to have a bit of a play where he rides. But how are you getting on with these tyres? Because it must be super fast rolling. Yeah,
so I really like them. Again, they're new tyres for me. It's quite a rounded profile. Yeah. So for me, you've got that feeling where it's quite a constant feeling. Sometimes I find if you've got more of a square profile, you've got grip in it,
edge.
You've gone. Whereas on this, you've got like a really nice constant feel to it. So I like it, and I've got a 2.1 on the rear. This is what I'm going to go for, a 2.1 on the rear and a 2.25 on the front. Yeah, a bit more cushioning and control. Yeah, in the looser stuff and a bit on the rocks. and then hopefully I will be climbing fast.
Yeah,
with
sure.
a little faster on the rear.
So some of the other riders we've spoken to, I mean, Jaroslav Koharvi, you notice he says he never changes his tyres unless he absolutely has to for a winter race. He prefers to just learn the bike and keep that same setup all year. And I was just wondering the same, because they look like a pretty good tyre with a decent edge on those, but you obviously have just been saying that you change your tyre sidewall differences and different treads.
So I actually have been using this tyre mostly this year. We've got other options, but for me, I liked this tyre. It's not like I'm like, oh, I find a tyre and I stick with it, but I'm really happy with this, and I'd play a little bit more with my pressures and more probably with the changing from a 2.1 to a 2.25 or the other way.
Sure.
Before jumping on to a different tyre straight away, just because, yeah, it takes a little bit of time to learn brand new everything. So
Yeah, I guess it's almost better to ride something you know well in conditions it's not designed for, because you know how it's going to be.
yeah, I think so. And I think this course, there's so much different bits to it. It's not like it's just kind of like a bike park style, or it's just loose and dusty everywhere. You've got a bit of everything, so this is, for me, this setup works really well, and hopefully it will work well.
The question begs is, of course, the dropper post thing. Now, I know a lot of riders that don't use droppers. There's a few reasons. A, there's the weight, and B, some frame design, especially on smaller frames, just you can't simply fit them in. But I know that Jordan's got the same size frame as you. So is there a reason why, or you just don't feel you need it?
For this course, on this bike, I'm really happy with the amount of, I guess, like help with the full suspension and the tyre setup that I've got as it is. For me, there's nothing here where I feel like I want that dropper on this bike. I feel like the bike has got enough movement and ability to get me through things fast as it is. But on some courses, I'd use my hardtail, or I will, it's a new bike, I will use the hardtail. And I think that with the hardtail, it's got quite a nice slack head angle. So you've got a combination of that, a dropper pin, and with the hardtail, you've got like a really nice setup there to be able to deal with the really technical stuff, uphill and downhill, corners, whatever. But also, it's just that little bit lighter than the full suspension for the climbs, and just a little bit more, yeah, if you're just out the saddle and going for it, it's obviously rigid, and hopefully we'll move forward.
So there you go. So that was Annie's last BH Race Lynx bike. So hopefully you enjoyed the bike. If you want to see some more content from Stellenbosch, click right down here and find out what happened in the race. As always, click on the globe to subscribe, because we've got fresh content for you every single week. And don't forget, if you like Annie's bike, give us a thumbs up.